All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us for our second week of the 5 levels of leadership. Yeah. I was going through this portion of the book and I forgot how much I love this book. I mean, I knew I loved it, but like the depth to which I love John Maxwell just seems to increase. Brenda, do you feel the same way? Oh, do you feel the same way? With every page, we just love him more.
It's amazing how complimentary and repetitive he can be, but saying things differently and being like, oh, now I get it. And realizing that you thought you got it before, but there seems to be more.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always more, isn't there? You're like,
yeah,
dang it, and you know what? It zings you, but it's not in a bad way, right? It's like, oh, conviction. Ouch. Okay. Got it. Did anybody have any takeaways after the call last week? Did anyone get a chance to go back and do kind of the overview, the questions, that kind of thing? Does anybody want to share anything from there? Ooh. Because otherwise we are leaping headfirst into level 1 position. And I love that there is kind of the preface at the beginning of this chapter. It's not even a chapter. We can't even call them chapters because they're just sections. They just kind of flow together. There is nothing wrong with having a position of leadership. And so I think that I want us to keep this in mind as we go forward. We need to remember that you can move up a level, but you can never leave a level behind. So without position, you have no place to start, right? So we all start as positional leaders with each new person that we encounter, that we start to lead, that we bring onto our teams. Everybody starts here, right? Because, they come in and you don't have influence over them yet. And so as you build your influence, as you pour into those people, then your level of leadership begins to increase. So we're going to start with the upside of position. We're going to try to hit the upside and the downside of position today. But right off, it says you have been invited to the leadership table. A leadership position is usually given to people because they have leadership potential. And it doesn't matter if you have one person on your team. It doesn't matter if you have no people on your team. In your life somewhere, you are a leader. And I really think that leadership begins with decision, right? To lead well. Now, obviously, you guys are noticing there is a void today. There's no Sherry Grant today, but that's okay. We'll just clip along. And I'm really happy that Brenna is here because she's got a brilliant mind and she's studied this book thoroughly. Jimmy Lou and I have too, but I think that she and I did a lot of our studying last night, very late into the night. So we're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to go this morning. But yeah, what do you guys have any takeaways at the beginning here of positional leadership? Did any of this speak to you at all?
It just opened my eyes to kind of look around and see who are the potential leaders around me that I can influence. Like kind of looking at, like, yeah, I'm in I feel like in youth, I'm a position of leadership. And obviously as my team grows, I have a position of leadership and different volunteer things. But then I also am looking, well, okay, if I have the potential to grow in my leadership, who below me do I have the potential to lead as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the other piece too that we can go back to, I think that was talked about last week, is that you are in a leadership position in your family too. Right? And when you're talking about raising up leaders, we're raising kids. A lot of us are in the trenches of teenagerhood, toddlers, in-betweenies, whatever. And so that is empowering leadership. And I mean, motherhood can be positional leadership totally, right?
I was going to just say that as actually, this is my first time reading this book. And I know that it's been part of a lot of leadership training in Eva's team and down, but for whatever reason, I've just missed the whenever there's been, and so this is my first time. So I I've had a lot of aha moments, and yeah, I've read John Maxwell book, but this really, I'm finding this book to really top it for me. Like there, I think, the different books that we've gone through, this is just something that's really kind of sticking me in the gut. Like,
Hopefully in a good way.
oh, that hurts. Oh, yes, that's good. Like it's really, and I think the thing that, just to go back, and I don't want to go back to last week, but I know one of the things that we were asked to do is to take this little survey and to hand it to someone else. And I only got to hand out one, and it was Leona. And so I only did one, and I know I need to do more. But, the thing of it is, like Stacy said, is like our position, we start on one, right? With everybody. And then as things go, right, we can become, depending on, the relationship, depending upon those things, right? And so talking about, even what Stacy brought up about, with even youth group and the importance of that, I see, not just when we say everybody's invited to this book club, it is for everybody, because it doesn't matter if you have one person on your team or you have 250 people on your team, because it's not just about Plexus. This training is about life. And if it's about leading girls, or if it's leading your family, this is some big stuff. And the thing that came to my mind, and I don't know about you guys, I feel like we've went through time where leadership was in this country and in our communities, we allowed other people to lead us for too long. Can I say an amen? So it's time that the thing that came to my mind last night I was reading is, I have for too long allowed to say to myself, oh, I'm not a leader, or somebody else can do it. And I think God is really calling us in this time to step up to the plate and become the leaders that he's called us to be. And it feels scary. It sounds scary, but really it's not. It's stepping into our God-given abilities that he has given us. And we play small too much because we don't know the greatness that God really has in store for us, right? The gifts and abilities that he has. And so I love how John Maxwell, it's like he's drawing us out, right? It's like he's showing us, hey, you got a position, you got a place in your home, in your business, in your church, in your community. Start using your leadership ability, right? And so this has been, anyways, it's been so good.
It's a challenge to step up for sure. Absolutely, for sure. I love what Brenna said in the chat. We start by leading ourselves, and we can always go back to that, right? We start by leading ourselves. And there's really no excuse, and I'll say excuse, there's really no excuse for us to say, oh, except my leader doesn't lead me very well. Or, right? I mean, regardless, and I'll just use, because it's in case you're watching later, It's February 12th, 2022, and there's some things that are going on in our country. And so if we simply look at it, regardless of what side you're on, there are people that have just decided that our leader is not leading us well. And there's going to be action and other people are going to step up into leadership. So if you just look at it from a black and white standpoint, that's what's happening right now in our country. And I think Jimmy Lou's really right. Like, I think that we're going to see a shift, right? There will also be some people that just choose not to engage in general. I'm not talking about in the political arena. I think in our lives in general, like you were saying, we can kind of shirk the duty of leadership onto other people, right? Like in a church, for example. Oh, I don't need to do that. The staff can do that. The pastors can do that. The youth group leader can do that. I'm not going to step into this arena. Instead of looking for areas that we can lead. The truth of the matter is, if we don't practice leadership, we don't practice our skills, we're not going to become better leaders. I think it's so interesting. I don't want to skip ahead too much, but when he talks about how he, in his, now I always do this, I listen just slightly ahead and then I'm like, okay, but I don't want to talk about the ahead part. So he starts off in talking about how he was given the title of captain in his basketball team. And his coach tells him that the title of captain would merely give me a platform to display my leadership abilities. It did not guarantee that the players would follow me. And I think that if we look at this in the arena of Plexus, when you say I'm a brand ambassador with Plexus Worldwide, and here is my story, and here are my results, you have given yourself a platform to be like, hey, if you need help, I'm the person that you can come to for help with this. You can come to me and I will help you. Do we actually realize that we are inciting leadership? We are giving other people the opportunity to follow us if they think that where we are leading could serve them. And then they choose to see where you've been or see your journey and go, okay, that might be for me. I'm going to go follow that person. Do you look at that exchange as leadership, or do you only view the exchange as far as like, I have people working the business? Do we look at that exchange as leadership?
I'm starting to now. The more, right? Like the more I am like, yeah, the more I'm listening to John Maxwell, reading his books, I see little moments in every day that I'm like, oh, I have the potential to lead there. I have the potential, I am leading that person, or I am, just recognizing that in little moments throughout the day.
Mm-hmm. And do you ever realize that somebody is willing to follow you and you never really intended to be their leader? Like just in regular life. I realized I had an exchange with a young woman who is one of our youth. She's a university student and she's one of our youth group leaders. And just really sweet girl on our worship team, really engaged in the church. And I had the opportunity to sit with her during our prayer time before church and was praying with her. And just, she's really been on my heart for the last couple of weeks. And I was like, I think I'm leading her. I don't think I mean to. And so you kind of get this light switch moment where you're like, oh, well, if I'm doing it, I might as well do it purposefully. So I sent her a message yesterday as we're reading this book. And I'm like, hey, you've been on my heart. I've been thinking about you. If you ever need to talk or you need prayer for something or whatever, like I'm here, like you can, like, you need to vent, you need to like to celebrate something, whatever, you got my phone number, throw me a text. I am here for you. Right. And I think that it is not arrogance, but awareness when we look around us and go, who is following us and we're not intentionally leading them? Because that could be dangerous, right? If you are not being an intentional leader, you could end up leading somebody in the wrong direction. Has that ever happened to you guys where you just all of a sudden realized that somebody was following you and you weren't meaning to? maybe that's your Plexus business. Like, whoa, hold on a second. I'm a leader.
I did this week, actually. I had a young girl in another group that friend requested me. And so I thought, oh, okay, well, I'll see what's up with this. And we chatted back and forth. And I asked her, why did you, like, what intrigued you to friend request me? And she said, I'm looking for a mother figure. And she's about 26. And I thought, oh, my kids are 34 and 31. And so we're just, conversing back and forth and just building a relationship. So I'm like, eek, you mean I can actually lead somebody?
That's so cool. And Diana, that's come from you stepping into a position of leadership and just shining, right? Even if you didn't realize you were leading on purpose, you were already doing it and people were attracted to that. That's wonderful. And I think that goes back to what Brenna said. We start by leading ourselves. When we're starting to lead ourselves well, it shows and other people want to come along and follow us. Okay. I'm going to try to move us along. I don't do this well. Go ahead.
So where you started at and talking about him about, how to figure out who's going to be the captain. I think you were talking about the John Wooden, the legendary UCLA basketball coach, who was a fantastic leader, once told me that he didn't designate a captain for his team until after a few games in the season. He waited because he wanted to see which player would step up and deserve the honor. He has often been quoted as saying to his team, don't tell me what you're don't tell me what you're going to do. Show me what you're going to do. And I think that is how sometimes we can step into leadership without even knowing we're stepping into it, because we have maybe, right, like we've have sometimes with some people, they get started in Plexus and they don't even realize it. They just start doing their business and they just start showing up and they just start, doing a post and they just start, and they're doing it. And so people go, wow, look at her go. I want to join this. Right. And yeah, that's where people, I think it was for me, it was like senior gold. And I went, whoa, what am I doing? What is this? What did I step into? Especially when I became like that night when I remember I had my son, he was just a little, guy. And I'm like, he's cheering. I'm like, Mommy's senior gold. And he's cheering with me. And he's like, what's senior gold? I'm like, I don't know, but it's great. And I'm senior gold and I have people under me and whatever. Right. And it was just so accidental in so many ways, but that is why sometimes I think people go, whoa, what happened here? It's because they're not saying, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. They are actually doing those things. And that really spoke to me, right? I can say all the things I want to do this and I want to do that. But it is by showing is where the leadership is all about, right? Showing it. So yeah, I love that line.
We always talk about watching people's feet, right? They say that they're going to do something, that's great, but just watch their feet and see where they go. So let's talk about position as in somebody comes into, say, your organization and they just assume that everyone's going to follow them because they're the leader. I sponsored you, you're going to follow me because I'm your leader. That may not be the case, right? And we have a really unique situation here. If you work outside of Plexus, like many of you guys do, where you lead an organization and there are people under you and you have authority over them, they kind of have to listen to you, right, Brenna? I think people have to listen to Brenna because she is in a position of authority. And you can stay in that positional space and demand things of your people. But like he was talking about, no man is a leader, actually a leader, until his appointment is ratified in the minds and the hearts of his men. You must use the authority you are given wisely to advance the team and help the people you lead. Do that, and your people will begin to give you an even greater authority. So you can have those people who show up for work the last minute, right? Like he was talking about, they show up the last minute, they plug in their time, they use all of the bathroom breaks they possibly can on company time. They do not come back early from lunch. They're making sure to say their goodbyes at 4:30 because they're strapping their track shoes on and they are out the door running at 5 o'clock. They are not like, yeah, those people are, they're there, they're plugged in, but they're only there because they have to be, and they're only listening to their leader because they are put in that position over top of them. A leadership position is an invitation to grow as a leader. If you believe that the position makes the leader, you will have a hard time becoming a good leader. And it really, really resonated with me when he was talking about how, and I know we're kind of jumping all over, and I say that's okay. They're jumping all over, but the whole concept that, okay, totally lost my train of thought. Hold on, it's coming back. It might not come back. Jimmy.
I'm actually then going to go back if you're thinking. So
Yes, I'm thinking.
a leadership position means authority is recognized. I just want to remember that that can be both positive and negative. And right now we're talking about the upsides of positional leadership. And one of the things that I think we can get to is we just want to be relational. So instead of saying, I've been there, I've done that, and these are the next 3 steps you need to do. Share, follow up, all of these things, because you know what they are, and you're in a position to actually help someone grow because they're underneath you. But sometimes we're like, we just want to be friends with them and we're going to cheer them on. And we're not going to actually use our position in a way that actually helps them. And I think that's one where we need to remember the upside of positional leadership is actually using the position you have to say, I know what you're going through, and this is what you need to do. And if you trust me, in a week, you're going to see that this works if you just follow these steps. And realizing that as a leader, you do have a responsibility to give people purpose and direction of where they're supposed to go, so that they're not stuck on the side of the road, spinning their wheels, doing nothing, that they actually feel like they're moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So where my brain was going was the concept of a positional leader, and this sort of jumps further into the downside, but the concept that, somebody comes into your organization, they want to try whatever it is, and you just leave them alone. You're like, yeah, okay, try it. And you leave them alone, and you don't go to the person, you just expect that person to continuously come back to you. So if you want to look at follow-up, like what Brenna was saying, in the context of position and then the next level, permission, right? You just assume that that person is going to use the product, they've ordered it from you, there's been a transaction, they have slight confidence in you because you use the product as well. But you can increase that position, you can increase your influence, you can increase your leadership ability with that person every time you go back to them. And I really think that if we started looking at our interactions with people on our teams as I am placing deposits into our emotional bank between the two of us, so that when you hit detox, for example, when you hit detox, there is enough of a balance in that bank that you're going to trust me to lead you through that. When you hear of somebody who has migraines, you're going to trust me. You're going to look at that bank account and that exchange between the two of us and all of that time and energy that we've spent conversing and I've been, pouring into you. And you'll say, hey, I can take some of that out and I can give that to somebody else. Or I know that my leader is trustworthy enough for me to bring my friend in to talk to them. Right. And so you can look at the amplification of this positional leadership as I really think I would like to hear this from you guys if you think that this would work, because in my mind, it does. Even sharing third-party tools with people, sharing videos, sharing knowledge, posts, articles, things like that you believe will serve your person to having a better understanding of what they're doing, to feeling good, like not just like healthy feeling good, but just I've made a good choice, right? That peace of mind, those deposits of those third-party pieces of validation that I think that we really discount are really crucial in building up the position with someone else.
And I think that's critical when you think about the 21 laws and the fact that a leader is the person who initiates that follow-up that you were talking about. And sometimes this is why we celebrate, the very first share that someone does is the fact that they don't even realize it, but they are taking a leadership position by sharing that information with someone else the first time and really initiating that conversation.
Absolutely. I think sometimes we see people get really comfortable with positional leadership. And that's probably why they don't choose to invest a lot of time in following up with people. Because you'll see somebody be like, oh, but I'm not I don't know anything. I'm not the expert. And it's sort of like the same thing, like what we were talking about before with, oh, I'll leave that to the pastor. Oh, somebody's going up for prayer at church. I'm just going to leave that to the people who do the praying. It's not me. Probably a staff member should go there. I am not equipped. I am not well-versed enough to go and pray with that person. Comfort is in that lowest level of leadership, because then you don't have to put yourself out there. You don't have to continually make larger and larger deposits in people. But I think it's so crucial that we understand that those deposits that we put in, that elevates our leadership and it shows them how to become leaders.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say here, I underline a lot of stuff, but it says here, the leaders who do the greatest harm to an organization are the ones who think they have arrived. Once they received the title or position they desire, they stop growing, they stop innovating, they stop improving. They rest on their entitlements and clog up everything. And I was thinking about that, just the fact that, pick what you want in your mind, but you kind of go, wow, I'm here and that's great. And now, I don't need to grow, or you're not even really thinking that, but you do it, right? It's, again, leadership is not shown by what you say, but what you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I love the example he gave just as even, as a pastor, when he was a pastor and he came to this church and he went to do the first meeting and he was like, well, I'm the leader, so people are going to, follow me kind of thing. And he's like, nobody listened to me. It was, I can't remember his name, but Craig or something, was the guy who, was that everybody looked to. He was the elder in the church and knew all the things, and everybody looked at him. They didn't even look at John. And he felt pretty small in that time. But again, it goes back to, yes, you start with relationships. Yes, you start building on that. yes, you start seeing your position as not just I've arrived, I'm the pastor now, or I'm the emerald or whatever, it is being careful that that position you have, that you don't stop growing and don't stop seeing what that position entails. It also means that silver, or that, like we can all say that, we've shirked our responsibilities sometimes, right? I can say this full out. There are times when I have said, well, Janelle will do that. Well, that was wrong. That's wrong of me, right? And so we know that if we have that in our mind, eek, right? That's not good, people. That's not how this works. We each have, and again, I go back to that. And if you go on to the page on position, page 45, he says, leadership is much less about what you do and more about who you are.
Yeah, that was exactly where I was going to, right? Yeah, it is what you do, but what you do is a direct reflection of who you are. So who are you, right? I mean, I think how many of us, well, we've heard it over and over and over again, but how many of us decided to start taking supplements to feel better and realized that we were going to get a massive schooling in identity? And who really are you? What do you believe in? Where are your values? And do you need adjustments? Like, do you need to go to a value chiropractor? Do you need some adjustments on your values? And then Instagram. Guys, hello. Who are you? Who are you? And I think that that's actually why it scares us so much. A lot of people who want to go on Instagram, this whole idea of niching down and whatever, they're like, but I'm so much more complex and I've got this and that. And you're just like, no. Who are you? What value do you bring, right? What are your values? Ethical values, relational values, success values. Those things all shine when you open the door. And I think that when we are vulnerable on social, we're showing our personalities, we are being open about our value system, we're being open about all those things that make us who we are. That's where we find our people that actually want to follow us outside of positional leadership, right? If you don't show who you are, they aren't going to know why they should follow you. Other than there's a transaction to be made and they want some probio.
That's a very, very good point. And can anybody just, I want to see a show of hands. Who here thought you were just going to be taking a multivitamin and that is all that was going to happen when you started with Plexus? Who here thought it had nothing to do with that you were going to grow as an individual? Like, holy crap. Like nobody would have, if somebody told me you're going to go into this community and the healing is not going to be just a physical healing. You are going to be doing some major emotional and spiritual healing also. If somebody would have told me that, I might have ran the other way.
And not only that, but you will be leading other people into similar emotional and spiritual and mental healing as well.
Yeah. Like,
talk about wanting to run the other way. I literally wanted a probiotic. I did not how did our lines get crossed here? Right?
Yeah, totally.
And I think that that's where people who do relationships really well shine in this business. Let's look at Celeste Gwynn for just 2 seconds. And I love using her as an example because if y'all follow her, she's a little extra. I love her. She's a little extra. She has zebras in her front yard, which Nolan loves to remind me of. He's like, the woman has zebras in her front yard. And I'm like, but they're not hers. He's like, still, she's got zebras. Like, that's next level, right? Okay, let's boil this down. Why has she been so successful? She started sharing before she was an ambassador, and she gave all of those people to her upline, Jen Hawkins. She just kept sending them to Jen. Go see Jenny, right? And I think she said it was 8 months of her on the product before Jen actually convinced her that she needed to stop being a customer and start being an ambassador, because she was already sharing. She was doing everything that Jen was doing, right? She is a professional networker. Before she got paid for it, she was a networker. And we know those people in our lives, right? People who always have a house full of people who seem to know everybody in the community. And if they needed something, they know exactly who to call. She invested in people. And I think one of the things that has been so impactful to me as to why I continue to follow her really faithfully, just her journey and how she does things, is my second business coach, Ryan Flatt, and I were talking about Celeste one day, and we were talking about how she consistently signs people up. However many years later, she's a double diamond. She's actually a 15-star diamond. If you want to know what that is, that means she has 15 separate jewel legs. 15 emerald, sapphire, diamond. That is a big deal. And he said, she came by my desk when she was at corporate. And she said, hey, you know what? I've got this girl on my team, and she wasn't her level 1. She's like, I've got this girl on my team. Her name is such and such. She just went silver. It would really mean a lot if you would reach out to her. She knew the girl's name. She knew she'd gone silver. I think she was like a level 3. And he said, she knows everyone's name. And I said, I met her once, and she was like, I know you. And I'm like, you do not know me. This was back when I was a gold. My second convention ever. Danica and I were standing at the top of the staircase by the pool at the MGM Grand and ran into Celeste Gwynn, and I had enough mental capacity early in the day to actually form words as I'm talking to Celeste Gwynn, who back then was just like superstar. And she's like, I know you. And I'm like, you don't know me. And she goes, no, I know you. And when I was telling Ryan this, he goes, she probably remembers you from whether you were commenting on her posts, whether she's seen you on social. He said, she remembers people. So you have to look at that and go, these people are wildly successful in our business, not because they're wealthy, not because they are people, because they have amazing skills that they've honed over years, simply loving on people. So like, if you really wanted to look at her as a beautiful example, she's a level 5 leader. She is a developer of leaders. And that's not, you don't see that often. You really don't see that often. So let's start talking about the downside of position. True leadership isn't about position. We can all fall into this. And I'm just going to I'll use myself as an example. And again, we'll use the business as an example. So if you are watching this and you are not a business builder, that's totally fine, but we're just trying to paint the picture for you. And I can really only use the colors that I have. And so this is what I do. How many times have I sponsored people, a group of people, and gone, why aren't they listening to me? Why aren't they staying on their products? Don't they just know that they should just take them and they'll feel better? What is the breakdown here, right? Instead of investing, like what I was talking about before, making those deposits into the bank account, sending those third-party validation pieces. Guys, I found a video that I had totally forgotten existed. Jessica Hogendorn did a beautiful video. I think it's like 7 or 9 minutes long on gut health. Why gut health is actually the title of it. It's in boards under videos. And it is a brilliant third-party validation tool for anybody anywhere in their journey. It does not need to be a first contact video. It can be something you layer in and be like, hey, I watched this. I thought of you. And this spoke to me. Why? Like, tell them why they should watch it and just say, like, throw it on when you're brushing your teeth today or whatever. Like, it's super good. But I have in my leadership journey been so frustrated with people that they don't want to share. They don't want to be consistent. They don't want to show up for themselves. They don't want to message me back, like any of those things. And guess where the blame falls? I mean, yes, some people just are not communicators. There's going to be a portion of people that just, they don't want to engage with you. No matter how hard you try, they will not give you the permission to lead them. And that's permission leadership. But a lot of that falls on my shoulders. And instead of me going, why aren't you doing the things? We need to bring the things to the people. Hey, Linda, are you doing the IPA roadmap this week? I'm so excited to be doing this with you. I'm doing 3 draws. I hope you win. What has been the best part of doing this week? What's your highest day of points? Right?
Well, the crazy thing is I started it and then I kind of lost momentum, lost keeping track. Yeah. It just seems like my week just kind of fell apart.
But you can look back at those sheets and go, oh, I did this that day. I did this that day. I did this that day. I did this that day.
Yep.
Be done. I wasn't calling you out. I was just using you as a beautiful example.
No. And this is how, yeah, this has been my week. So,
but you know what, Linda, I'm going to take responsibility for this. Had I messaged you on Tuesday and said, Linda, are you doing the roadmap? I'm doing it this week. I'm really excited about it. Do you have your post up for today? I'd love to go comment on it. If I had come to you and done that, you would have been like, oh, shoot, I didn't do a post. Or maybe you did a post. I don't know. I wasn't looking at I don't remember what Tuesday was. But if I came to you and did that, if that was important to me as a leader, if you were my level 1, or I was trying to get you into momentum, I need to realize my role as the catalyst there for that. I was on a call with Edmundo. I love saying his name. What is it with Spanish names? Edmundo Saavedra. Like it just, nah. It's not Italian, but I feel like we should be doing this. And he said, we're going to talk about what you should be doing as a leader. And I'm like, well, thank goodness, because somebody needs to. And he's like, so you have somebody who sponsors 6 people. Let's say Stacy sponsors 6 people this month or last month. He said, you need to be going to her in that first week and being like, tell me about those 6 people. Who do we have in there? What are their goals? What are their pain points? What could we use as a third-party tool? How are we going to follow up with them this week? Where are they at with their journey? Like, did they start at the beginning of the month? Did they start and get into there and help your people make a plan for follow-up? And then planning to circle back around and say, hey, so how's Anna doing? Is she over that whole BioCleanse thing? Is there something else? Where are you feeling that she's at on things? Right? Instead of just assuming people do follow up or going, oh, no matter how many times I tell them, you need to follow up, you need to follow up, you need to follow up. Right? Maybe I go, oh yeah, hey, we were talking about that with so-and-so last week. I stumbled upon this video. Maybe this would be helpful for them. Instead of standing up at the front and decreeing this is what has to happen, you get down off the platform and you take your people by the hand and you say, let's go do this together.
I felt like I needed a stock prod this week, not a hand.
I feel that way often. That's hilarious. That's super funny. Leaders who rely on position to lead often devalue people. And I know all of the hearts of the people that are on this call right now, and I know that you guys don't devalue people. I also think that sometimes we devalue ourselves. And we don't realize the value that we have to add to those people. And we can go back to follow up again. Well, I don't have anything to say. The worst thing I've heard people say is, I hate small talk. You hate checking in with people to see if they're doing okay. You hate sending cat videos. You hate, like, send something, send a GIF. Like, I don't know. Social has made it so easy for us to follow up with people because you can send something stupid and they'll laugh, right? It was epically harder to do that when it was only mail or phone, right? If we truly valued ourselves, it would be easier to turn around and be like, hey, I have something to give you. Positional leaders make other people feel small by not having a genuine belief in them, by assuming people can't instead of assuming they can, by assuming people won't rather than believing they will, by seeing their problems more readily than their potential, by viewing them as liabilities instead of assets. Ouch. Done that a few times.
Janelle, what page was that?
That was on page 53. Yeah. One thing, like we're starting to wind down in our time here, but I do want to address this, and I've talked about it before. Positional leadership is often lonely. This, in my estimation, is slightly different in network marketing. And I've actually talked to other people in higher position than myself about this particular topic. When you have a job, a job, where you start off in that positional leadership and people are required to show up at your place of business. And if you don't have the right people under you, you can choose to hire and fire the people that you need, right? You can build a team of people that maybe want the job. He talks about bringing people along with you, right? So that it is not lonely at the top. Well, what happens when your leaders quit? What happens when the leadership is in a season of exhaustion or mental stress or emotional stress or whatever? And all of a sudden, all of the people who have been with you are taking time. Does that mean you're a bad leader? No, it doesn't mean that you're a bad leader. It means you're in a season. It should remind us that there's always room to bring more people along. Now, does that mean that tomorrow you're going to have lots of friends up where you are? Not necessarily. You've got to bring people along with you. But I was sharing a quote with Jimmy and Leona and Sherry this last week. And Jimmy, I'm going to have to find it again. I'm going to have to see if I can find it. Here we go. This truly is a goal of mine. I think that it's beautiful. Build a team so strong, no one can point out the leader. Build a team so strong, no one can point out the leader. And I think that really only comes from communicating belief. Again, going back to that, what I shared about the downside, right? The downside of position is by not having genuine belief in them. If you hold a ton of belief in each individual person that you bring on and you see what could be with them, that's the beginning of that. Turnover is high for positional leaders. I know I've certainly seen that in my time here. You know, people who come who don't understand, like we were talking about, that this is personal growth with a comp plan. People that don't lean into that growth can only go so far. Jimmy, do you have thoughts?
Here we go. I think that again, getting to further on page 58 when it says it's number 7, turnover is high for positional leaders. And I love that quote. People quit people, not companies. And and I think, I mean, we have to be careful with that because we can't put on, again, we're talking Plexus and our position in Plexus. We can't take that on always. I very much have sometimes somebody quits and I go, oh, it's me, isn't it me? It's all me. But a lot of the time it isn't. There's things that person just wasn't ready to grow. But you can also take this as a really great truth, is that that is true, that people will continue, even though you maybe don't say the right things, maybe you don't always send the right things, but they know you genuinely care about them. They're going to try that. They're going to try a little harder to get through that detox. Like, well, man, Jimmy sent me again that really nice thing and asked me how my family's doing. I'll try to stick it out a little longer, And so I think I love that. People, that we have to remember that it's not always, that relationship building is so important, right? And we have to remember that, you know what, it's hard. It is hard. But that it's so important that our position, that we can use it, and we need to remember that we can use it for such good, or we can forget that what position we have and just go, yeah, I've arrived or whatever. Right. And I know we've all done that to a certain point, right? There's, I have 1,000,001 group chats, and I'm very sad that there's lots of times I don't get in all of them, and I want to, because I want to get to know these people. And sometimes it's so hard because I'm like, how do I get to know all these people? Right. It was really funny. I just have to say this. So I this last week, somehow I came upon an ambassador that I don't really know well, but she messaged me about a party that she was doing. What's it called? Pampered Chef. And I was like, yeah, sure. Nice. Like, how are you doing? Kind of thing. Like, I knew I saw her name in my back office. So I knew that, but I didn't know a lot about her. And we just started, I just said to her, how are you loving the products? I honestly didn't, I was like, trying to figure out, I think she's taking the product still. I know I saw her name. And so we just kind of hit it off and we started chatting. And this last week, Stacy's been really working with her because she's one of Stacy's downline. And this gal started sharing. This is her first time and she is doing so well. You guys, it was so accidental what I was doing. I didn't even know what I was doing, but I started a relationship with one of my downlines that that conversation and that accidental leadership. And now she's starting to share with other people. So don't forget that, people. Don't forget that your input into somebody's life, even if it's like a GIF, right? A silly little GIF, it could mean something big for that person, that you believe in that person, right? That's first time today that somebody is believing in this, whatever, believing in them. Yeah, go ahead.
And Jimmy, I was just going to say too, like, you could have taken that on yourself and just left me out of the piece, but as a good leader, you passed it on to me and just gave me a couple of tools and then, I mean, in combination of reading this book and realizing, okay, I need to lead better, right? And yeah, this girl's rocking it. She's already started 3 group chats with me with other people, and yeah, I'm excited for her. So I appreciate you, Jimmy, doing that and passing that on to me and encouraging me to do that. So I see good leadership in you by encouraging me to do that.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. And you know, if we go back to what we were talking about before, showing up as leaders in our communities, in our, like, wherever we choose to invest our time, we can, they talk about how, and I can't remember, it's kind of the downfall to read things and not having a clear path in my brain, but I was reading something this week, and hi, he's being distracting, so now I'm going to squirrel. I was reading something this week about how when you level up in your leadership and in your personal growth, you will then attract those people, right? You will attract people that are like you, right? And so when they talk on the bottom of 58 about, you know, every company has turnover, it's inevitable. The question every leader must ask, who's leaving? So you can even ask yourself, like, who's leaving out of my life? Is it the lower level leadership people that just don't see space or don't understand where you're going, right? We often see that when people come to Plexus and they do start investing in personal growth and mindset training and all of those things, all of a sudden they kind of outgrow their circle because their circle just doesn't want to grow with them. And that can be super hard for people. But it ends up being so good, right? Like they get rid of the negativity around them, and all of those things, right? Same thing with our businesses. Yeah, there's going to be turnover, but you need to ask yourself, is it the level ones, or like, is it the 1s, 2s, and 3s that are leaving, or are the 8s and 9s leaving? Like, you want to be attracting, you want to be attracting those people. And as you grow and develop as a leader, there's going to be kind of 2 things that happen. Either you're going to attract people that are like, wow, I want to be like that, right? Like Diana and the person that was attracted to her in a mentorship role. She was attracted to Diana because she's like, I want that, right? So you're going to attract those people, but you're also going to maybe be slightly off-putting to people who maybe been with you for a while, and they'll be like, yeah, I'm not going on that journey. That's not for me. I'd rather stay stuck and negative and bleh, right? So yes, people leave people, not products, or people leave people, not companies. It isn't always bad. So give yourself a little bit of grace on there. And also realize that all of this is part of our journey. We have every interaction we have is purposeful and is part of our growth and development. So next week, we are on to the best behaviors on level 1, how to make the most of your position. And I think, let me just double check, because I'm so thankful for Sherry's leadership, because she has a whole schedule for us. So next week, it's going to be
Yeah, I should look back.
I think-
I can tell you. Did you find it?
Yeah, I think it's best behaviors and laws. But
I have-
oh no,
yeah.
sorry, it's level.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm forgetting what
It-
space.
yeah,
we're in.
it says-
Go ahead, Diana.
I have what she had sent me, level 1, best behavior, laws of leadership,
Yeah.
beliefs, and guide to grow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's on the 19th. And then we'll be on to level 2. So we're spending 2 weeks on level 1 just because it is so important to understand and crucial there. The other thing I was going to mention is that next week we also have, so sorry, that'll be up to page, up to page 70, no,
Is it 81?
up to 81.
Okay.
Up to and including 81. We also have next week is the Plexus Book Club with Amberly Lago. So right after we're done, we'll have a hard cutoff at 10 Saskatchewan time. And then those of us that want to go over to that, they can. The other thing is use the Plexus Book Club next week as a tool. one of those third-party tools to increase your influence over your people. This would serve anybody well. Remember, these book clubs are for everybody. So whether that's a potential, whether that's somebody who would never ever look at the product, whether it's somebody who's currently on the product, your leaders, your mom, whomever, get them on those book club calls. They're absolutely fantastic. And if nothing else, it's just a huge blessing for people.
Mhm.
So thank you guys so much for being here and investing in yourselves and each other. Again, leading the people on your left. Just so appreciate that. You guys are always so willing to lead each other. And I'm just excited for the growth in our teams as we, like, there's no way that this isn't a ripple effect, outwards, down, up. It's just, right? A ripple in a pond does not just necessarily go one way. It can go all ways. So have a great Saturday, guys, and we will talk to you later. Bye.